I sprinted down that hospital corridor like my world was collapsing. My heels clicked against the polished floor, that hollow sound mixing with the sharp smell of disinfectant that made my throat burn. My heart hammered so violently I felt it in my temples, in my neck, in every inch of my 58-year-old body that suddenly felt ancient. Emma, my daughter. Emergency admission. Those words had shattered my evening 40 minutes ago, and I hadn't stopped trembling since. I pressed my purse against my chest, desperately searching for room 312 as I rounded the corner. The numbers blurred through my tears. 308, 310, almost there. The call had come while I was watering my garden. I'd dropped the hose when I heard Marcus's cold voice. Emma's in the hospital. Accident. Come if you want. Then he'd hung up. No details about what kind of accident, how serious, whether she was conscious. Just those cutting words delivered in that tone he always used with me, like I was a burden in his perfect life with my daughter. But there was no time for old wounds now. 311. I was almost there. That's when I felt it, a firm hand gripping my arm, pulling me aside with surprising strength. I nearly screamed, but another hand gently covered my mouth while a woman's voice whispered urgently, "Hide and wait. Trust me, a nurse." I could tell from her uniform, from the medicinal soap scent clinging to her scrubs. She looked about 35, with serious dark eyes that held strange intensity. She pushed me firmly but carefully toward the half-open door of room 311, right next to where Emma lay. "Don't make a sound. Don't come out. Watch and listen. You'll understand everything soon." Before I could react, before I could demand explanations, she walked quickly down the hall, her shoes making that same rhythmic echo. I stood paralyzed behind that door, my heart now racing for entirely different reasons. This wasn't just fear for my daughter anymore. Something dark and nameless was taking shape. The empty room smelled of clean linens and artificial air conditioning. I leaned against the wall, trying to process what had just happened. Why would a stranger hide me as if I were in danger? It seemed ridiculous, but something in her eyes, that urgency in her voice, made me stay. "Trust me," she'd said, and for reasons I couldn't explain, I did. Less than a minute, past 60 seconds that felt eternal. Then I heard them. Voices in the hallway. Marcus's voice, unmistakable with that smooth tone he used when manipulating people, and another voice, masculine, unfamiliar, professional. They stopped directly in front of room 312, right across from my hiding place. My body went rigid. I held my breath. "Are you sure no one will see us here?" the man asked. Marcus laughed, a dry sound, like rustling dead leaves. "The old woman is coming, but she'll take forever. Security doesn't rush these things. We have plenty of time." Old woman? He called me an old woman. Something twisted in my chest, but I forced myself to listen because this was just the beginning. "Good. Let's review the documents one more time. The house transfer needs to be ready before she wakes up. If she asks anything, you say she signed everything before the accident. Understood? The house, my house. The one I'd bought with my late husband's life insurance money. The one I'd put in Emma's name because I trusted her, because she was my daughter, because I never imagined something like this could happen. $200,000. All my security, my future, handed over because a mother trusts without calculating." "Understood," Marcus replied. There was something in his voice that chilled my blood. Not sadness, not worry for his hospitalized wife. Satisfaction, victory, the sound of someone winning a game I didn't know was being played. "And the business. The $180,000 in the joint account. I can transfer that to $180,000. The money I'd loaned, no, given to Emma for her startup. Money she'd never repaid because, Mom, it's an investment in our future. You'll see returns when the business grows." But the business had been failing for months. Perfect. With the insurance money, we're looking at over $500,000. Not bad for 6 months' work. Insurance money. They were talking about life insurance. Emma's life insurance. The world tilted, my legs nearly gave out. They weren't just stealing from my unconscious daughter, they were planning her death. "When will you do it?" the man asked. "Tonight. The warfarin is already in her 4, slow-acting, anticoagulant. She hemorrhaged internally. The doctors will think it's complications from the accident. Clean, untraceable warfarin. Poison. My daughter was being murdered, drop by drop, while I stood helpless in this dark room. Beautiful. And the widow act. Oscar-worthy." Marcus chuckled. "I've been practicing my grief face." They walked away, their voices fading, leaving me in darkness with the most horrible knowledge imaginable. I slumped against the wall, fighting nausea, fighting the urge to scream. The nurse reappeared in the doorway. "You heard?" I nodded, unable to speak. "I'm Sandra," she whispered. "I've been watching him for weeks. Your daughter isn't his first victim. First victim. 3 other women, all married to him, under different names. All died of complications after convenient accidents. All left him everything. Marcus wasn't just my daughter's husband. He was a serial killer. We have to call the police," I whispered. "We will. But first, we need proof. Recording their conversation isn't enough. We need evidence of the poisoning." Sandra pulled a small device from her pocket. "This will record everything. I'm going to check Emma's document the warfarin. You're going to get Marcus to confess again, on camera this time. How? You're going to confront him. In Emma's room, I'll hide the camera, then page him saying there's been a change in her condition. When he comes, you'll be there, angry, demanding answers. Men like him can't resist gloating when they think they've won." My hands shook as I took the recording device. What if he hurts me? He won't. Too many witnesses, too much risk. His whole plan depends on looking like the grieving husband. He can't afford violence. We moved quickly. Sandra placed tiny cameras in Emma's room while I positioned myself by her bedside. My daughter looked so pale, so fragile, with tubes and wires connecting her to machines that beeped softly in the dim light. "I'm here, sweetheart," I whispered, stroking her hair. "Mommy's going to fix this." Sandra paged Marcus's family conference regarding patient's condition. "Room 312, urgent." Within minutes, his footsteps echoed in the hallway. He appeared in the doorway, his face arranged in perfect concernment, till he saw me. "Helen, I didn't expect you so soon." "Of course you didn't. You were hoping I'd arrive too late, weren't you?" His expression shifted slightly. "I don't know what you mean, don't you?" I stood, facing him across Emma's bed. "Tell me about the warfarin, Marcus." The color drained from his face. "How did you know about the poison you're feeding my daughter?" "The same way I know about the house transfer, the business account, the insurance money, the other 3 wives who died so conveniently." His mask slipped completely. The grief-stricken husband vanished, replaced by something cold and calculating. "You can't prove anything, can't I? We have recordings, Marcus, video evidence, medical proof, testimony from the other families you destroyed." He stepped closer, and for a moment I thought Sandra had been wrong about the violence, but then his shoulders sagged. "She was going to leave me," he said quietly. "Emma found out about the business money. She was going to divorce me, take everything. I couldn't let that happen, so you decided to kill her. It was supposed to look like complications from the accident. Clean, simple. But then you had to show up and ruin everything, the way her grandmother showed up for Sarah Mitchell, her sister for Rebecca Torres, their mothers for Catherine Wells." His eyes widened. "We knew about all of them. You're finished, Marcus." That's when he lunged not at me, but at Emma's IV line. He was going to increase the dose, kill her immediately rather than let her live to testify. I threw myself between them, grabbing his wrist as he reached for the IV bag. We struggled, and I screamed for help. Within seconds, Sandra burst in with 2 security guards and a police officer who'd been waiting in the hall. They subdued Marcus, while Sandra immediately began flushing Emma's foreline, administering the antidote she'd prepared. The warfarin levels were dangerous but not yet fatal. Emma woke up 3 days later, confused, weak, but alive. "Mom," she whispered. "What happened?" I told her everything. About Marcus, about the poison, about the plan to steal her life and her money. She cried for the betrayal, for how close she'd come to death, for the year she'd wasted on a man who'd never loved her. But she also held my hand and said, "Thank you for saving me. I'm sorry I didn't listen when you said something felt wrong about him." The trial lasted 6 weeks. Marcus, whose real name was David Coleman, was convicted on 4 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder. The other families testified about their lost daughters, wives, sisters. The pattern was identical: whirlwind romance, quick marriage, convenient accident, mysterious complications, grieving widower, inheriting everything. He was sentenced to life without parole. Emma recovered fully. We used the returned money to start a foundation helping families recognize the signs of financial and emotional abuse. Sandra leads our medical awareness program, training healthcare workers to spot suspicious patterns. As I write this, Emma is cooking dinner in my kitchen, laughing with her new boyfriend, a kind man who loves her for herself, not her bank account. She's stronger now, wiser, more careful, but not bitter. Sometimes I think about that night in the hospital, about the stranger who grabbed my arm and saved my daughter's life, about how close we came to losing everything, but mostly I think about how we fought back and won. I'm Helen Morrison. I'm 58 years old, and I learned that sometimes the most important thing a mother can do isn't give everything away, it's fight to keep what matters most: my daughter's life.